You ever watched a top level game and thought, how does that player get so open every single time? It looks like magic, but it's not. It's movement. The best players don't just move for themselves, they move to manipulate space, to pull defenders, to open doors for others. In today's video, we'll break down how players create space through intelligent off the ball movement, especially between the lines. The video has four sections. The first three are great for players as they cover a lot of examples of movements that create space. The fourth one will suggest drills for coaches to use when coaching creating space. Timestamps are in the comments as always, so let's get going. Let's start with the basics. Think of the pitch as a grid. You've got horizontal lines like the back line, midfield line, and vertical lines like the wing, half space, and middle. When we draw formations, it is mostly clear where players stay in this grid. Now, what happens when an attacking player moves between those lines? This disrupts the defensive structure of the other team, and that this disruption creates space. The right fullback thinks they're marking the winger in the rectangle here. But when the rectangle moves toward the middle and the fullback overlaps, the fullback doesn't know if they should defend the winger or the new player in the rectangle. Section 1. Moving between vertical lines to create space. Let's start simple and limit the movement only through vertical lines to create space. We'll illustrate with two examples. Example 1 is moving forward or backward to free up a teammate. Let's say you're a midfielder trying to switch a play, but you're marked tightly in the center. You're not going to receive that sideways pass easily. But if you make a short forward run, your marker follows. That movement opens up the space you just left for your teammate to dribble or pass into. Of course, you can create this space for yourself, but forcing the marker to turn towards their own goal and sprint there. But even a small drop toward your defenders can do the same thing and open the space for your teammates. Drag the marker, open the gap. Example 2 is about running to help someone else, not yourself. Sometimes you don't want the ball, you just want to pull defenders away. If you're a winger, maybe a fullback making an overlapping run, you simply force the defenders to follow you. Thierry Henry explained how he had to do this dummy run every single time Iniesta was about to get the ball, even though he knew that 9 out of 10 times he would not get the ball. A run in behind might not get picked out, but it stretches the backline and gives your teammate more time on the ball. It is not always about receiving, it's about relieving the pressure. Section 2, moving sideways. Now let's talk about lateral movement, shifting between the middle, half space, and wide areas. In the first example, midfielder dragging wide to open the center. Picture a central midfielder drifting toward the wide area. A defender follows. Suddenly, that opens a big space in the middle for a winger to cut in or a false nine to drop into. These days, you see inverted wingers in the game more often. That works only if they can actually get the ball into an empty area, which can only happen if somebody did the heavy lifting of moving the defense out of that area. That somebody was the midfielder. Let's look at the second example, leaving space for an inverted fullback. Similar situation to before, but if the winger stayed wide or made a forward run as a decoy, you can see an inverted fullback sprinting into this open area. Who wouldn't want to exploit this? Receiving the ball in this area without opponent giving the fullback so many options to pass, to dribble, to cross, to shoot. You as a central midfielder didn't just move yourself, you moved the defense. Section 3 is about movement patterns that create space. Now let's look at some classic movement patterns that combine both vertical and horizontal space manipulation. After all, players are not robots and move in any direction that they want to move in. Start with overlap. The fullback runs outside the winger, dragging defenders wide. They might get the ball or might not. The danger is that if they get the ball and have an advantage over their defender, they may cut in and have an open shot on goal or at least have a clean cross to the middle. Either way, it's too dangerous for the defender of the winger not to drop in a little bit. Underlap, the twin sibling of the overlap. The fullback or the midfielder runs inside the winger, targeting the half space channel. Again, the danger is even larger as it is closer to the goal. So the defender of the ball drops deeper, leaving space for the winger to cut in or cross. Third man run. Player A crosses to B, who quickly sets it up for C, who's making the run from deep. C arrives into space that the defenders never saw coming. If the defenders see them, then they'll track them back and open space for other players. It might be player B in this case, but it might be that C dragged defenders out of shape for another player to get the space. Diagonal runs, the hybrid move. A white player cuts diagonally across the lines, pulling defenders both horizontally and vertically. If the defenders don't follow, then they're in an overload situation in one area of the field. If the defenders follow, then there's an empty area of the field for somebody else to occupy. These patterns aren't random, they're designed to pull players out of position, then exploit the space left behind. So, section 4 is about drills to train creating space. How do you coach this? To be honest, it is not that easy to coach this quickly because of the complexity. But if you give it a few years, they'll get there. As I mentioned multiple times on this channel, drills will give you framework, but the coaching points need to come from you. For example, a drill can create 2v1 on the wing with high frequency, but you need to work out the words and the intensity of delivering the words to your players that one of them need to make that early run. Or if they're making that run, you need to see it and ask the other players why they're dribbling into them or passing behind instead of passing into space or cutting in for a shot. These things are what you need to do as a coach. Now, back again, here are the 4 drills that will help you develop these concepts. Drill 1 is the double round. Imagine merging 2 rondos one next to the other. Now, each side has 3 players to occupy the walls. Plus, add one more free roaming player in the middle on the attacking side and 3 on the defensive side. The goal is to get, say, 20 passes in 5 attempts. The coaching points for the players on the wall is that they are still contributing to the game with their movement, even if they don't get the ball, and even if their movement is limited to line. For example, a player being open for pass will split the defender and allow the passer to choose the best pass for the moment. Similarly, moving along the line combined with the movement of the ball will create space for the team. Finally, the central player will have special tips about checking in and checking out, which will give the glimpses of what central midfielders do. Drill 2 is shadow play with movement triggers. I don't like drills with no defenders because there's no decision by them and just robotic movement. However, sometimes the players need to see something for the first time or to see if they can do something without defenders. If they can't do something unopposed, then they will definitely not do that when somebody's who's trying to stop them. So no defenders, just a front 4 or 5 players rehearsing coordinated movements. Central midfielder drifts wide, winger tucks in, central midfielder does an overlapping run, cuts back to the fullback who did an underlap, or the winger who went centrally. Repeat it, build rhythm and awareness. This can master it as a finishing drill or even a conditioning training. For example, the goal is to get the shot on goal in 6 seconds. This will require sprinting, first touches, and focus. Rule number 3 is small-sided games with scoring zones. Playing from the back can be a great option for central midfielders to learn what creating space means for them. You can get the back 4 and 3 central midfielders. The goal will be to get to the end zone, which can be in the middle third through dribbling or passing. There are multiple patterns to consider here. Creating spaces by showing and leaving if one of your markers is on your back. I covered this and much more in the previous video about playing as a holding midfielder. The other patterns you will look to see are 1-2 passes, the third man runs, and breaking lines. Check out those videos on the channel too. Rule 4 is 4v4 plus 3 with wide neutrals. While I don't like games with neutrals that often, I found this drill to be useful all the time. The 3 players on the wings and back act as a support. The overload gives you space and options. The goal is to keep the ball moving and encourages smart support play. The off-ball neutrals must constantly create new space, just like in a real match. You will need to pause the game here to give coaching tips when something relevant happens or doesn't happen. For example, if the ball switches sides, but neither a neutral nor an attacker is making a run to create space, you need to call them out. Similarly, if there is a smart play of creating space happening, you need to encourage that loudly, but also quickly. Creating space isn't about flashy tricks or raw pace. It's about thinking one step ahead. It's about knowing when to move for yourself and when to move for others. Start watching games with this lens. Notice who's moving and what they leave behind. And next time you're on the pitch, try it. Move with purpose. Move to create. If you found this useful, drop a like and subscribe for more tactical breakdowns like this one. Thank you for watching.